In the light of the shepherd, you're listening to The 100 Podcast, a show about CW sci-fi series, The 100. I'm Daniel Prime.
Hallowed be his name, and I'm Olga, the devoted disciple. Today, we're discussing Season 7, Episode 15, entitled The Dying of the Light.
Yes, and we're at the second to last episode.
Gee, I don't know if it felt like the second to last episode of the 100 ever, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And with that, let's get into some housekeeping. So what we usually do with these videos is we watch the episodes, then we immediately sit down here, we record, what are our thoughts? Oh my goodness. And then we do a longer audio podcast that comes out on Mondays after the episode. Now, piece of our housekeeping this week is that we didn't do one last week for episode 714. We didn't do the full length one. My life has just been crazy. I've been sick. I've been working like a dog. The Rosh Hashanah happened. Crazy shit happened. But we have 2 episodes left, so we're really going to make sure that we can get all the stuff we need to get done.
These actually feel important. Ooh, talking shit on 714.
Hey, I like 714 more than this one.
I mean, yeah, I guess you're right.
So with all that, let's get into our recap, right? Because what we've been deciding to do is we're going to do a mini quick recap before. So if people aren't watching the episodes but want to understand what's going on. So the episode starts in the wake of the big explosion that happened at the end of last episode when Bardo sent a bomb to kill everybody and Miller threw it away, and then it caused a whole big kerfuffle. And
yeah, that's what you'd call it, a kerfuffle.
Or a kerfuffle of sorts. And, you know, everyone's okay except, well, we don't know where the fuck Echo is the whole episode.
Or Nyla.
Yeah, well, yeah. And except for Emori, who is under the rubble and has a thing sticking through her and a leg that's all messed up. And so the whole plot line with, I was going to say Remori.
Powering down.
The whole plot line with Raven, Murphy, Emori, and Jackson is trying to save Emori, and the main method of doing that is trying to get to the stone, which is buried underneath the ground in the rec room. So they have to hit the rock in the ground and find it, and there's an
Asgetta hand symbol for some reason.
Yeah, hand marks the spot. So they're hitting with a hammer, and Jackson's trying to save her, and she thinks she's gonna die, and Murphy's like, this ain't gonna happen. We have to get to Sanctum and get her some real medical attention.
And he's crying, but he's also macho, so it's like really cool.
Yeah, that's how you
sensitive, but still buff.
And the main thing at the end of this part of the storyline is Raven and Emori have a big talk, because Emori's like, if the choice is between saving me and saving everybody else, go to fucking Bardo, don't go to Sanctum. And Raven's like, no, dog, I learned in episode 3 that I can't make decisions like that, and I need to save the people. So they unearth it, and they make a portal and supposedly go to Sanctum. Meanwhile, down in the fighting pit area, we have Clark desperately wanting to get back to Maddie. She is going to use one of those nano thingies that Cadigan used. She and Octavia are going to go save Maddie, but they don't work because you need someone on the Bardo side to let you through. So they're in trouble. So she's all upset. She and Gaia have this big talk about like, oh, I can't believe Maddie did this. And then Gaia's like, this is what you used to do all the time, like mother, like daughter. And then Clark's like, is this what I used to do to my mom? And then they were sad, and then they were going to meditate. And then meanwhile, on the other plotline, they get dragged over to Bardo. So let's jump to Bardo.
That's it. Clark's like, oh no, I'm conflicted. Oh, I guess I'm leaving now.
So on Bardo, we have Maddie and Cadigan and Levitt in the MCAP chamber. And they are going to go into her mindy mind. And at first, it's like, it's no big deal. We don't want to hurt her. But then they realize that the important memories are below the surface, in the deeper regions of the brainstem. And so Levitt's like trying to help and shit, and then, you know, it starts like hurting Maddie, and Levitt's like, I don't know about this, and so Cadigan kicks him out, and, you know, they're treating Maddie like crap. Levitt then goes and he lets Clark and Octavia in. Huzzah! But he didn't know they changed the location of the bridge. So Octavia and Clark are now in the foresty place in Bardo. They get captured. They're in jail. Meanwhile, we have Levitt. He goes, he beats some heads in. He gets them out of jail. Then they're like, how do we get to Maddie? So we let Shade Hedda out of jail to cause a distraction. And my God, he does. He causes a distraction. Shade Hedda will never die. He just disappears with all the heads. Now, Clark and Octavia and Levitt, they go and they get into MCAP. And at MCAP, they find Maddie and no one else. And Maddie has become
locked
inside her brain. She can't move at all ever again. Maybe until next episode. Maybe we'll see. And so they are like, holy shit. Levitt's like, they went too far. She's conscious. She's alive, but she's never gonna be able to move anything again.
No voluntary movement, so she can breathe on her own, but she's just stuck.
Yeah. And so then Clark is like, oh, I guess we gotta shoot her in the head. That's my thing. And Octavia's like, wait. It's also my thing. So she takes the gun. And she's like, God, I'm gonna kill Maddie. And so then Clark starts humming like a psychopath, like he did in episode 2 of the original series, or episode 3. I think it's episode 3. Anyway, it's the same song. And then Levitt's like, oh shit, Cadogan got the code. That's why he left her here. So then they're like, we'll be back, Maddie. We're going to go kick some Cadogan booty. And then that's the episode.
And that last part is a lot more sad than what Dan lets on. The end.
So
that was spectacular.
Thank you, dear.
I really liked how into it you got at the end. You were in a rhythm. It was jazz. It was bobbing and weaving.
So what did you think of this episode?
This was my favorite part. No, God, I don't want to come out here being like super like about this, but I was pretty.
You're pretty.
I was that. I mean, I was kind of underwhelmed for the first half, because I was just sitting there and I'm like, we're halfway done with the second to last episode of a season ever.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at. I mean, I don't know. I've been so worried about Amori's life, like this whole season, that for a ceiling to be her worst enemy doesn't seem right.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think it was like a great episode. I still think there were some good things about it. I liked a number of the character interactions, but it felt low stakes, even though like the stakes were high. The stakes were Maddie and the stakes were Amori, but that still feels like small stakes for this show, which is often such like the end of the world or like an army versus an army and all that stuff, you know?
I mean, we see Cadogan's disciples preparing for war, but somehow in my brain, I'm not actually like invested in the war.
I don't think anybody really thinks, I don't think any viewer thinks there's gonna be a war because there's one episode left.
Right. And they keep, even in this episode, they keep reinforcing, no, it's not a war, it's a test. And it's one person's test, and Cadogan's gonna be wrong. And even Cadogan is like, I might be wrong. This might be a test. I don't actually want a war. I'm happy to take the test for everyone. And everyone's like, oh shit.
I'm a great test taker,
I'm a genius. I'm like, that might be true, but you should not take this test because you will fail.
Yeah.
So the stakes for like setting up cannons seems kind of...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think next episode, the stakes are supposedly, you know, celestial and world-ending, human race changing, humongous. I think that's the thing, is that this episode, it really did feel like we're gonna slowly get to the big part. And I think that the Amori stuff I liked. It felt like it could have been any season sort of thing.
That's exactly it. It's not like this was something that she's defined by as kind of a final evolutionary step. Murphy either.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I mean, it was sort of, right? This is the character who started out being like betraying everybody and just being like cutthroat and I'll do whatever to survive. And she was like the most, Murphy-like, and that she didn't care about anybody else. And this is her saying, put everyone before me. That is a big character moment for her. And it is a big thing for Raven to say, no, and to reconnect about their time on the ring. There is definitely some aspects there.
I feel like Amori already changed into this person.
Yeah.
And this was Murphy's season for changing into this person. And he did that prior to this episode. This wasn't a Murphy episode. This was an Amori episode. So I didn't really, while I acknowledge this change in her and that this is like a big thing, I don't feel like this is new information. For her to be like, sacrifice me, go to Bardo, is something that I feel like a season 5 Amori would have done and a season 6. I don't think this is limited to season 7.
That's fair.
Okay. It still was touching.
What did you think of the Raven part of it?
I did like that a lot. I liked her, growth versus,
the radiation thing.
Yeah, versus the reactor earlier this season. I think it's nice to bring her full circle. I did like her stuff about her being like, I'm going to save you and I'll save them. That's my thing. I'm good. Like, I like confident, cocky Raven like that.
I do too. My feeling though is I'm like, is this actually growth really? Because the whole thing, so the point of having her go through the radiation thing was for her to realize how difficult it was to be Clark and to have to be the leader and to make the tough decisions
and confront her own cowardice.
Yeah. And she says here, she's like, oh, I didn't let him make a choice. Well, guess what? Amori is making a choice. So to me, it felt a little contradictory. It still feels in some ways cowardly to not do the thing that Amori's asking you to do because that will be difficult for you. Like she's like, to me, the culmination of her arc is putting herself before everybody else. Like, it would make more sense for Raven to be in this position in some ways. So
interesting.
Like, I'm not saying, like, I have to rewatch it. I'm sure I'll have some other thoughts and I'd like to hear other people's opinions. But for me, I'm like, even though I liked it, when I think about it, I'm like, does this make sense?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
The Maddie stuff at the end, I think was my most interesting part of the episode.
Well, the Maddie and Clark scene.
And Octavia.
Octavia and Levitt, yes. That last bit of the episode was probably the strongest.
Yeah.
And that did feel like something that belongs in the penultimate episode of the show. Yeah. That is high stakes. That is like a heartbreaking thing to witness it from Maddie's point of view of Clark's tears and her crying, my baby. Like, it's sad. It's so hard to watch. My heart was like beating out of my chest. Like, oh my God, are they actually going to do this? Please don't let them do this. And they didn't do it. But now things have to come to head.
So, well, I did have the issue again. There were a few things that I was having a similar issue that I had last week, where I was like, why don't they say to Maddie, yeah, okay, I understand you don't want to hurt anyone, but if he uses this code, everyone could die. No one says that. And then in this episode, I'm like, they're about to shoot Maddie in the head, and I'm like, somebody mentioned mind drives. Literally, you have something built into the show that if someone's mind in their body aren't functioning in the same way, at least mention that.
Where are they?
That's a question, a worthwhile question. My point is, at least have the characters ask that question.
I see your point. Yeah. I do see your point of like, why doesn't Clark say something like, we need to go get a mind drive? Yeah. Will Amori give theirs up? Like, can we get theirs out?
Yeah,
I think they still have theirs.
I think they still have. Clark might even still have one in. I don't exactly remember where all the mind drives are, but that, to me, that's besides the point. Like, if they're all gone, say that, but have someone bring up what I'm obviously thinking.
Yeah, especially Clark, who's like Miss Sacrifice herself. She'd be like, wipe my mind, put her in. Like, I was waiting for her to say that.
Yeah,
but I guess that's not a conversation we're having anymore. So I'm kind of the opinion it is what it is. I was so invested in what they were about to do that I was able to step out of the logic of a viewer of like, wait a second, there is a technological
reason
side point over here.
I see what you mean. And I want to say, I thought the acting on every side in that scene was really well done. I don't know what you would call what Maddie was doing, whether it's like makeup or Like,
Well, it's
however you do it,
it's a physical embodiment of a role. It is action.
Whatever they were doing, whatever she was doing and they were doing, I thought it was great.
It was impactful.
It was scary.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that was very well done, and they set it up well. And even though they set it up well, but with the beginning of having her Clark say that to Gaia, like, what would I be without her? I still didn't expect this.
Right.
I didn't expect the show to ever go here.
Right.
So
exactly.
That's interesting.
Yes.
What do you think is going to happen with this?
I don't know. That's a cop-out answer, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that it continues to be, in my mind, the equivalent of what would have happened if they did shoot her. Not that I wanted to see that. Oh my God, I'm so glad we didn't have to see that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need a time reset. We need some kind of time jump. Like in my brain, I'm just like, they can't leave Maddie this way. This like person who is the embodiment of hope.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they can't
forward.
leave Clark this way either.
Well, that's the other thing where one of the reasons I was so happy they didn't have to like shoot her and take the action of like sacrificing yet another loved one is because Clark has been so beat up in this world, in this universe, that like she can't take a loss of this magnitude. Like this character doesn't deserve it. What is this show trying to say if she once again loses another
I don't
person?
think she will, and I don't think that it will be fixed with the mind drive, even though I think they should mention that, because I don't think their solution on a TV show would be a different actress is now playing Maddie. That just seems weird.
Right.
Especially in the final episode.
Unless, again, put it into Clark. But I don't think Maddie would want that. And again, that's not fair to Clark either. Like,
maybe Clark will end up being brain dead and she'll die, and then they'll put it into, who knows. I think what's more likely is either some sort of time reset, or they're out of a simulation, so this doesn't matter, or a weird afterlife thing, so it doesn't matter. Like, the problem is right now we have literally no idea what direction, what even genre this war is going in. So who knows? My question to you is, seeing what happened in this episode with Maddie, does that change your opinion about the Bellamy stuff at all?
I don't have an answer for that yet. I need to think about it. So I will flip your question back to you.
Yeah.
What do you think? Does it change it for you?
Well, I mean, I definitely have to think about it, but part of what bothered me in the Bellamy death thing was like, why would they kill Maddie? Like, Maddie's what they need. Like, and I could see this coming, right? That they'd push her harder and harder, but it was still such a hypothetical. And now, like, actually seeing it and seeing that that was what she was trying to stop from happening. On one hand, I'm like, okay, that makes it maybe a little better. But on the other hand, I'm like, well, she killed him and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It ended up happening anyway.
Right.
So, and part of me still goes, if Bellamy had been in that room, would he have stopped it? That's my thing. Like,
would he have done what Levitt did?
Yeah, I think he would have pulled a Levitt. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, something like a Levitt, because he's not going to be the one doing the machine. But I think he would have stopped. I think he might have killed Bill. Like that. Yeah. That's my opinion of that character. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say that in this episode, because things were so high stakes, and because I think Eliza did a very good job, I wasn't mad at Clark anymore.
No.
And that, I think, is impressive.
It is. I think that first scene of her and the group standing there did a lot of work, a lot of the heavy lifting. Like, she gets frustrated and angry, and when she storms off and Gaia joins her, I really like that scene.
Yeah.
I went into, when it first happened, I was like, here we go. Like, season 5 Clark is going to monologue. But instead, it put me in a place where I did feel for her, where she is breaking down and she's like, with Maddie gone, no one will be there to care about me. No one will be there for me to love.
What will I be? I'll be nothing.
What will I be? Not. It's basically like, yes, again, she was using Maddie to justify all of her actions, but it's not just for Maddie that she's doing this. It is for herself.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. Like, this is what I was getting to earlier, where like Clark's story is so tragic. And I felt in that scene the tragedy of her killing Bellamy. And then you're absolutely right. In retrospect, with Maddie being trapped there in her own body, unable to do anything, every fear Clark had came to fruition. And it's awful. It's just, that's why I was like, just don't do that last awful thing that you do. But you also bring up a completely valid point of Bellamy died for nothing. And that still doesn't seem okay. Like, this didn't fix that at all. I don't think there's nothing they can really do to fix
and even though they keep bringing him up and like having the lines like Octavia being like, that's how I'll remember him, every time they bring him up, they reinforce that, the guy he was for those 2 episodes was not him and he could never have changed. And like, it just pisses me off. And that's just
every time, like, stop it. It's not helping.
Now, even though I do think it's cool that they've made me back on Clark's wavelength and caring about her, I still am like, they have to wrap her up somehow next week. And I don't feel like they've really given her an arc at all to work with. And certainly not the arc I would want from her final season. If you look at, I mean, imagine if they had stuck the landing on her season 6 arc and that was her final season. Like, that would have been so much better than this. Where, it starts with everybody dogpiling on her feeling like shitty, her being asked straight up, would you do Mount Weather again? Her having the whole mind space thing, wanting to die, fighting to keep doing the right thing, but then also learning to fight for herself and to let go of her issues. Like, that's the final season arc I want for that character.
I'm sitting here still not really understanding what Clark's arc for this season is.
Don't let people die, except Bellamy, who I shoot.
Again, I don't really know what her arc is. I need to sit there and think about it after next week's episode. But I mean, the way they started her off, this is a season of loss. It is a season of confronting everything that everyone that she's lost, as opposed to last season where it was about everything that she's done.
Which I think is way more interesting.
I agree, but like, how is she going to confront this next week? How is she going to confront her losses in the final episode?
It feels to me like her entire thing this year, which obviously we know is derailed by some behind the scenes stuff.
Right, whatever.
But looking at what's on the page, she's just been reacting and reacting and reacting and reacting. And she's like actively reacting, but she's not steering the story at all. And she's not being intelligent. I also so would have loved in the final season for Clark to retake and really be the leader again of a group of people and be like, I've made mistakes, I'm doing better, I am the leader and I'm going to do the right thing. Like, they seem so isolated into these like 6 people, I don't know.
It is weird. Murphy's the leader of this pocket. Clark is the leader of
the
this other.
Maddie.
Barely. And Bill is the leader of the disciples. Like, I don't know. It's just, you're absolutely right. There is no like, Clark has a posse and they actively do things because she's telling them to. It's just many posses, and now they came together and then they fell apart. It's kind of a mess. I kind of wish that they kept the last war in mind in this episode. So much of this episode was, yes, we're saving Maddie, but I wanted this last episode too. I wanted them to at least talk about
it more.
The fact that they can't use Maddie to start the last war. And they only brought that up in the very last few seconds of the show as a way of not.
I mean, at the same time, they also talked, they had the whole thing with Jordan at the beginning, which I thought that was good.
There are flaws to this episode, but I feel like I did get on board by the end.
All right. I'm interested to rewatch because I feel like, I'm just kind of blah right now. But I'm interested to see what other people thought.
Yes. On that note.
Please, you over there, please send us your thoughts, feelings, and such in the comments down below or email us at
the100pod@gmail.com. That is 100pod@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening, and may we meet again.
May we meet again.